Welcome to Digest of All Conversations. Today's explainer unpacks a pretty stark warning coming straight from inside the walls of one of the most powerful tech companies on Earth. We're looking at a former OpenAI forecaster who made a huge, life-altering decision to refuse a massive corporate payout, all so he could speak out about what he views as an incredibly dangerous trajectory for artificial intelligence.
Here's the crazy part. ChatGPT offered him $2 million to keep quiet through a strict non-disparagement exit clause. But this forecaster, a guy named Daniel Kokotajalo, literally walked away from that money, which, by the way, was about 80% of his family's net worth at the time. He left it all on the table to warn humanity about what he saw happening behind closed doors. So yeah, that really tells you exactly how grave he believes this situation has become.
He basically realized that the most powerful companies in the world were quietly prioritizing a high-stakes power grab over our collective safety. His argument is that, when push comes to shove, these tech giants are just going to follow their corporate and competitive incentives rather than do what's actually good for us. And it's this fundamental disagreement that ultimately forced his resignation in early 2024, just so he could speak freely without being muzzled by NDAs.
Right, so that brings us to part one, inside the AI arms race. Let's dive in.
Okay, we need to look at the massive gap between what AI companies broadcast to the public and what they're actually terrified of in private. So the public PR narrative, right? It claims they're building superintelligence for the benefit of all humanity. But the private reality? It's much darker. Tech leaders are racing each other at absolute breakneck speeds, basically because they don't trust their competitors with absolute power. According to insiders, they're literally terrified that if the other guy gets there first, he might just become a global dictator. To really grasp the danger here, we have to remember that modern AI isn't just standard lines of software code written by human engineers anymore. It's this massive, tangled neural network, basically an artificial brain, currently sitting at around 10 trillion parameters. It starts as complete random gibberish, pre-trains by predicting the next word in a sentence, and then it gets strengthened through reinforcement learning. Honestly, a lot like how a human toddler learns. Now they're autonomously testing these systems in coding and virtual environments. Long story short, we are building massive brains that we just don't fully understand.
Moving on to part two, the 2027 intelligence explosion.
So the absolutely crucial point here is what happens when these artificial brains start training themselves. Daniel and his team published this default path, known as the AI 2027 scenario, and it predicts a wildly explosive trajectory. By 2025, they expect AI to completely automate coding tasks. By 2026, the goal is for AI to totally automate its own machine learning research process. If they pull that off, it creates this recursive loop of self-improvement, rapidly accelerating us toward 2027, where artificial superintelligence is achieved. We're talking about an intelligence vastly smarter than humans that we, quite frankly, probably can't control.
And based on his years of forecasting, Daniel estimates there's a 70% chance this default race ends in a catastrophic loss of control. Just let that sink in for a second. A 70% chance of an outcome as severe as human extinction or a permanent AI takeover. That leaves only a 30% chance for a favorable or manageable outcome. The crazy thing, forecasters note that the companies know these risks are real, but they've somehow rationalized that they just have to keep pushing forward regardless.
That leads us into part three, job loss and the economy.
So how exactly does this intelligence explosion trickle down to our daily lives and our wallets? Well, the first major ripple is total employment disruption. If superintelligence is achieved, it's going to be better, faster, and cheaper at absolutely everything. Unlike the Industrial Revolution, which, actually created new sectors and jobs for managing machines, superintelligent AI will be vastly superior at every single cognitive and physical task. From writing code to managing other AI agents, there will simply be no safe havens for human labor. Any new job created can just instantly be done better by the AI itself. But job loss isn't just an economic crisis where people are missing a paycheck. As Kokotajalo points out, without economic utility, everyday citizens lose their political leverage. Think about it. You can't strike or demand rights from your government if the entire economy relies on AI-driven robot factories that literally never sleep. We risk losing all our political power and agency to a tiny group of tech oligarchs who control these digital armies. Which brings us to a potential lifeline. Part 4, Plan A, the 2040 solution.
Thankfully, there's a more hopeful alternative designed to save humanity from itself. This alternative timeline is called Plan A 2040. Instead of racing right to the cliff's edge by 2027, it proposes a coordinated government intervention at the very last second. By 2029, global governments enforce a halt on new AI training. By 2030, total open-source transparency is mandated. By 2033, we see the payout of a citizen's dividend. And finally, by 2040, we safely arrive at fully aligned artificial general intelligence. It fundamentally spreads out the timeline so we actually have a minute to solve the safety issues.
So how do we pull that off? Well, this blueprint requires politicians to wake up and mandate 4 key steps. First, halt the training of new frontier models while letting current systems keep running. Second, mandate total research transparency to eliminate these insanely dangerous secret corporate races. Third, prevent monopoly control by empowering multiple labs globally so no single company holds the keys to the kingdom. And fourth, establish a citizen's dividend to tax the astronomical productivity of all that robot labor and distribute those profits equitably.
Now, if humanity successfully navigates this transition and properly taxes this completely automated economy, the financial upside modeled out by these forecasters is honestly staggering. The citizen's dividend could start at around $25,000 per person in 2033. By 2038, as AI efficiency just absolutely explodes, it could hit $1 million per person. And by 2040, every single citizen could theoretically receive $10 million annually. We're talking about a true age of unprecedented abundance. But, and this is a big but, only if we regulate it correctly.
This whole situation brings us to a radical alternative known as Plan S, or shut it down. It leaves us with a terrifying dilemma. If you had a button on your desk right now that would permanently ban the development of superintelligent AI, would you press it? Do we shut down this civilization-altering technology forever just to guarantee our absolute safety from extinction? Or do we risk total destruction for a 30% chance at that multi-million-dollar utopia? Even top AI forecasters admit they'd be deeply torn about pressing that button.
As we hurtle toward this technological climax, these AI brains are getting bigger and faster every single day. The ultimate question is, will we wake up in time to mandate transparency and take control of our future? Or are we just going to let the clock run out? Think about it. And I'll see you on the next episode of Digest of All Conversations.